It's time to start building the new platform, and it's right here, the beginning of it, and it's just leftovers from the other platforms I've built, and I've gradually modified the construction or the layout, and it's built to reduce noise and vibration. This is our neighbor's house, this is their wall, and that's our wall, so we don't want to make too much noise in here. That's why I'm going through the trouble of making it noise reducing. So in the first version of this platform, I used these plywood sheets, which I cut holes into and put tennis balls into these holes to build some suspension or whatever into these plywood sheets. And on top of them I had these 20mm mats. In this new platform I'm planning on using tennis balls in the bottom, and I'm just laying it out here. I'll just stick these in here because they will make the frame for the platform. They will be cut to size once I know how tall it will be. And now when we're here with the balls laid out, I will put the plywood back. And then on top of that we'll put these foam pieces. And then rubber mat on top. And that's the rough idea how this is gonna work. And I think we'll try it out now. So that was 90 kilos on the platform, and this is just on rubber here. So that's the difference for now. So this is what we ended up with then. We have the tennis balls first, and then the plywood, and then the foam, and 2 pieces of rubber. So these are 20mm each, so that's 40mm, and 30mm of foam, and 10 or 12mm of the plywood, and then the tennis balls. So the total height should be about 159mm, so about 16 centimeters. I can show you this a little better. So here you can see the balls, and then the plywood, and the foam, and the rubber mats. So my dad helped cut the frame pieces, and now we just have to put them into place and see that everything fits as planned. So let's get to it. So now the pieces have been laid out. These ones look too short now, and that's because the side pieces of the platform will be cut down a bit to take up less space. The front and back of the frame is 255 centimeters long, and the parts in the middle here 164 centimeters. That's just to make sure that most people will be able to bench here, because we want to use the deadlift platform also to keep a squat stand on, which you also can bench it. So here I'm just moving everything away and laying out the frame pieces to see that everything fits, and just to get an idea of how I will build it. And here I've started building it with the frame pieces, putting them together and making sure that it's square, the frame. And then I'm adding in the studs that go in the middle and making sure they are centered. And it's just a lot of measuring going on there to make sure that it's centered. And it's important, if you're building something like this, to make sure that the frame is as square as possible, because it will make everything else much easier. Then I'm screwing the studs in from the side and making sure everything is square. And I measure diagonally again, just to see that those two measures add up to the same, and I'm making small adjustments if needed. So I just finished cutting up all this wood, which will be in the centerpiece underneath the hardwood floor, and I'm gonna cut them to length now. And here you can see where I'm just laying the studs out, and these ones are 90 millimeters wide or tall, and the other ones that I'm laying out here are about 55 millimeters tall. And this is the end result, everything laid out and screwed down. So this is what we ended up with then. We have these studs here laid across that way, and they are 45 millimeters by 55 millimeters, and they are 164 centimeters long. And underneath them here I have some 45 millimeters by 90 millimeters that are supporting them where the old middle of the platform is not reaching. So that's in the way back here, and here where you will be standing deadlifting, there is just the old floor and the new studs on top. And in between them I put pieces of 45 millimeter stud just to support them and to help with getting the right distance between them. In the bottom here I did the same thing, but I think they are 70 millimeters apart. And that's just because I had some 70 millimeter studs laying around, so decided that was a good spacing. And since there are 2 layers of studs, I have a hard time thinking it will be too unstable or too far apart. I've just started cutting up the flooring that will go on top of everything, and these are just leftovers, so I hope I have enough. So I'll start by making a straight cut on one of the edges, so I have something to meet this straight edge here, and hopefully they'll align pretty well. Here I'm just using a track saw to make the edges as straight as possible to make it easier to join them together later. I'm just putting some insulation in between the studs to reduce noise, and then I'm joining the floor together with this Festool domino tool. Now I'm starting the assembly of the platform, so I'm putting in the balls and then adding the plywood, and then the foam on top of that, and then the rubber goes on top of the foam. After some more testing, I decided to add another layer of plywood, or actually OSB, on top of the foam just to make the rubber mats more stable. And then here's a drop test. So now the platform is about done. I decided to reinforce these a little bit to make them support more weight, to maybe be able to carry a weight tree or something, depending on how much space we have when everything is set up. I just used these leftovers from the middle of the platform and screwed these studs into the frame, and then I added one in the middle, and then these OSB sheets go in the middle like that. These side pieces of the flooring are creating too much resonance when you step on them and put stuff on them. So I thought I'd remove the flooring and put in some insulation underneath. I cut these plastic pieces to lay underneath the insulation, just to keep the insulation, to make it stick inside the platform if you would ever want to move it around on the floor. And also, if there is any moisture coming from the floor underneath, it won't be sucked up by the by the insulation. So let's remove these wooden pieces. This is probably overkill, but I had the plastic, so I thought, why not? And then we use a stapler. Cut away the excess. And then we add the insulation. And that's it, so let's put these back. Now it's time to start adding the flooring to the middle and make it stick. So I'm first stapling this paper stuff that will go underneath the wood flooring, and then I will put some glue on top of that to make the floor stick. Time for glue. Just something that's called No More Nails that I already had at home, and it should do the job. The floor is pretty much done now. I just have one minor thing that I've changed since I've used it for a couple of months now, and that is I will put some more of the OSB, or you could also use a plywood sheet or whatever you want, to make it more stable, because now it's too soft, and I will put that underneath the rubber. So it will be 2 rubber mats, then 1 OSB, and then the foam, and then plywood, and then the tennis balls. So let's put those sheets in, and then we're done. The platform is finished now. I will just put some clear coat on top of it, and I thought we'd do a sound test now where we compare the platform to the regular flooring with only rubber mats on top. And this is 160 kilos. This was all filmed with my phone, so I don't know how much the microphone can capture the sound in here. Especially lower frequencies, I think, can be hard for it to pick up. But inside here you can tell a big difference of especially how sharp the sound is. And the biggest difference is still inside the house, because the platform takes away a lot of the vibrations from the lifting. I want to thank you for watching this, and I hope this can help someone that needs to reduce the noise from their lifting if they're doing it inside their garage or their basement or something similar. Thank you.